Jing, welcome to R3al Talk.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start with a high-level question. Where is the DePIN machine PHY sector right now?
When we're talking about, this new coming kind of, the booming sectors, we will say it's still early. It's almost kind of similar to, the early stage of the DeFi, but we all definitely see there is a clear signal like it's growing, from the builder's perspective and also from an infrastructure player perspective. You will see, the infrastructure is almost ready, right? IoTeX is one of the key players. We're building like the blockchain and the middleware infrastructure. We're building, the developer tools. And after, 3-4 years, we see also other kind of infrastructure are ready better, like the data infrastructure, like the layer 1 data, infrastructure. So that's a very, important key. And then we see like more and more projects and developers are coming. And they are kind of building solid projects, and they are kind of, really, create different use cases. And many of them we see after maybe 1 year, ideation, experiment, POC, and even just like handle those, manufacturing of the devices, they are like more and more close to launching the network, right? So there are a lot of kind of signals, make us believe DePIN have the huge potential to drive kind of, the crypto adoption, for the next round. But that's why, actually, we really see maybe there are a lot of things, the outsiders, they haven't seen. But, I think just like the insider circle, we see a lot of the signals to say this industry is actually growing very fast.
So at a high level, where is IoTeX positioned within the DePIN sector?
Yesterday, we had a kind of a, good event, a real world event. And we heard like, from the audience, they say, it's a very good kind of just like, explanation. Like IoTeX right now is a hub for the DePIN project, or US is a center, right? So what do we do? Actually, we are kind of, we are chain agnostic. We are kind of device agnostic. Our role here is how we can empower all type of DePIN innovators to build up their DePIN project easily, right? Provide all the resources, infrastructure, and tools to help them, to speed up the go-to-market. So that's basically what we are doing.
Can you describe the current partnership landscape at IoTeX?
Yeah, definitely. So I would say, before, we dive into kind of, which partners we are doing, probably we can just like break down what type of the partners are really kind of key, to the entire kind of DePIN industry, right? So basically, DePIN is like, they create the network. And then the interesting part is, unlike, from the Web2 version, which is like centralized company, basically they are the major only players, and from, kind of building the supply and to kind of, monetize the network, and then to like onboarding the users, right? So they are the ones to do everything. But in Web3 version of, decentralized physical networks, there are different roles, right? So we leverage on the community. They will be the one to create and deploy devices and then contribute to certain network, right? So they are very important to the community side. And then we rely on, the blockchain infrastructure side to make it happen, like how all those kind of devices can get together and how the device, can talk to each other, how the data can be proved, and how those important proof can be validated on-chain and then trigger smart contract. So there are kind of, multiple like protocol players are also kind of heavily involved into the network, right? And also DePIN specifically, they are handling the devices. So device manufacturer, device makers are very important roles. They make it happen. They create kind of those, tangible devices and make it really kind of user-friendly. And then another part will be very importantly will be the developer. So the reason for us to, create the DePIN networks is like, it's kind of open stack, and we open the access, to various kind of data or to the network utility to developers. It could be kind of environmental data. It could be like, vehicle data or whatever data, right? And then make it possible to create an open playground, for developers to create all type of the surface, which is impossible right now in the Web2 world, right? So they are also kind of very important players. So IoTeX, as I just mentioned, we are kind of, a hub for the whole ecosystem. So our partnership will be kind of just categorized into different, players. We work with, definitely DePIN projects, those projects which are building, different use cases. Those are kind of, one category, very important, partners. And we already have, dozens of the partners, they are working on different use cases, including covering like vehicle data, mobility, right? And energy, and, like mapping data, environmental data, and all the other use cases, like even just like decentralized VPN, decentralized computing, decentralized, wireless network. So those are kind of one very important, kind of category of partners, right? And then just like we are also working with device makers, because those are very important. For example, we're working with one very premium, device makers, and we put together the kind of the DePIN kit. We call it DePIN Dev Kit. So the reason why we do that is we see this as a kind of the bottleneck, and for to speed up the process. So we want to kind of bring down the entry for the developer to build, easily to build, right? So those are kind of partnership, we are looking for. And also it's like, we provide these resources to a developer. And then there's a third kind of category, which are very important, is about developers, right? So the developers, they are building useful applications on top of the DePIN network. So that's a kind of big part, we are working with, right? So, for example, we work with, kind of tool company like Hotspotty, right? So they're kind of, phenomenal, a developer team. They really kind of, building really awesome kind of tools, and especially kind of data analytics, dashboard, for Helium. They're starting with Helium, but now expanded to the entire DePIN sector. So we feel those type of the partnership are really important, because, if we have more developers, they are creating useful, applications. And then just like this is how the end users, like, the community members and consumers, how they interact with the DePIN networks. So that's almost like, okay, so why they are on board. It's not only about the cool technology. It's about just like, the benefits. It's about kind of just like, the easiness of the product. It's about the UI, UX experience, right? Seamless experience. So that's kind of just important partners we are working with. Yeah.
This is why the Web3 model is so beautiful to me.
Yeah.
You just described so many distinct players that, because of the incentive alignment, are working together in this symbiotic relationship in a way that wouldn't happen in Web 2, which is just beautiful. I just want to leave that there. Like,
yeah, I think just like, you kind of point out the very important benefit or advantage, for Web3. Web3 is all about open source and about the composability. It's about just like, we can easily get, different layer of the technology or innovation together and make it useful, right? So this cannot happen in Web 2. Only one centralized, big entity, they control everything. And the result is, actually they leave such a kind of big space, like, a huge amount of the data, which is like, useless, or just like, it's kind of undermined, right? But I think just like for Web3, especially just like in this DePIN network, they need a lot of collaboration, right?
Yeah.
So I think our role is, to get the best resources and the best tech, infrastructure, and even just including, and there's actually, I didn't mention another group of the a category of the partner, which is a service provider, right? So the service provider, we provide this off-chain, WebStream is off-chain computing infrastructure, but we also work with other service partner like, storage partners, like, different kind of data layers, partners. And we work together. And each of them, they kind of just like focus on, one specific kind of, solution, right? And we put them together, make a total solution. And for the DePIN, developer. So this cannot happen if there's no such a kind of openness, of, kind of take the data, my side even, right? If there's no kind of the openness of the kind of the collaboration, between different, developer and projects, it cannot really lead to, kind of such a, easiness for all the developer to have the open access. Yeah.
So in short, IoTeX has a suite of tools and partnerships to supercharge the DePIN sector.
Definitely. Not only like tech tools, like infrastructure or developer tools, we also have the whole kind of go-to-market package, right? So what included in this go-to-market package, I think just like for a lot of projects, they're really kind of genius in the tech. They're really kind of just like, innovators. But they still like a lack of the experience or the resources when they kind of get to the market. So that's where just like, IoTeX are here to help, right? So from, a lot of our conversation with our partners and a lot of DePIN projects, several kind of, pain points they're facing, right? Funding, this is definitely a big question. How you kind of just like attract, enough the funding and so that you can put your idea together and, hire the best people, right? So this is something just that we are working with. We have multiple kind of, funding sources to provide, including kind of, we have our own kind of very own grant, like we call a Halo grant. And we have our own ecosystem fund. We can directly invest in the project, which are already kind of get to certain kind of milestone. And we also have created kind of a really big, investor network. And we work with other more, kind of premium investor VC, and they are actually interested and already heavily, invest in the DePIN sector. Our role is like, we educate, more investor and, kind of convince them to see the potential of the sector and then get them into this space and co-invest with IoTeX, right? And then we kind of bring this, the funding, sources and also, some of them, they become kind of very important mentor. And then to, our kind of the ecosystem, the DePIN, founders network. So we are kind of in the middle to do the matchmaking and provide all those service to them, right? So funding definitely is a kind of a big part of our go-to-market package. In addition to that, we see like, the launching, right? So how to launch maybe their hardware. Like some of them, they are still early. Like they are really kind of think about, what's the best strategy, and leverage on IoTeX existing, community, right? So we already have kind of over, millions of the users. They already been kind of, following IoTeX and our vision for a long time, 5 years.
Yeah.
And they are all kind of just passionate about the use cases, right? So how we can help, those DePIN projects to tell their story and to kind of get their product kick off, right? So we can be their kind of Kickstarter platform to launch the product. So those are kind of like how they get the first like 500 users, right? And to kind of purchase the devices and deploy, in certain places. And, even those kind of, the first 500 could be the advocate for the project, right? So
it's like having the world's best incubator behind you.
Yeah, because those are all kind of, included in our kind of go-to-market package we can provide. And of course, there are a lot of other like community marketing, like a lot of media, right? We provide, media. And of course, very important, initiative we are doing, or the brand, which is a real world event brand. Yeah, so we already, we started our kind of the first real world event, which is back in March this year and in East Denver. And we provide a showcase for the DePIN project. They can showcase their project, their hardware, right? And also we provide a stage for people to do their workshop, presentations, a lot of kind of thought leadership, and put the founders and investors and also the other players like the community together, right? And the network. And we need kind of just like a place, for people to brainstorm the ideas. And then, all the innovation just like, inspire more people, more smart people to build.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's how, we are working on our partnership and,
And I want to ask you which partnerships, let's say in the last 6 months, have excited you the most?
Yeah, so actually really a lot. I will not kind of name one single project, but personally, I'm really excited about several things like, the physical network, what excites me most is, how those use cases can empower the real world utility and for benefits the everyday people. Right. So, and that's why just like we see some use cases like, in the energy sectors and in the mobility sectors and in the kind of just like, the geolocation based, applications, which just like everyone, they can just like, plug in and, prove their location and of their kind of the real world activity, everyday activity. And then just like, they'll contribute to, certain networks, and then they also get rewards. And it's kind of those type of the kind of use cases really make me feel, okay, so actually, Web3 is not only about DeFi. It's not only about the virtual game. Web3 is empower everyday people, and it's real. It's real, and it's delivers the real value to the society, and it's also get back, it's also kind of rewarding the everyday people if they are just like, doing everyday, activities and, lead a more kind of, self-aware, owned, kind of, lifestyle, right? So I think just like the possibilities just like limitless. We already see some pioneer projects. They are showing the possibility and they are showing the initial kind of market fit. But we are actually just like excited to see more. And we already see kind of hundreds of the projects. They are, just like have the ideation stage, but, eventually move to the production stage, right? So those kind of new ideas and innovation actually excite me most.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Jing. It was great having you.
Yeah.